Hello and welcome to another episode of Tales of Middle-earth, the series in which we explore stories and locations unrelated to our journey in Citadel Guard Adventures. I am Beriathan of the Citadel Guard of Gondor, and today we're back at the Harvestmath festival as there is still plenty for us to do here. So first of all, we're gonna talk to Rosa Hornblower and get the Spirited Harvest quest, because this quest do count for this. And we have an intermediate tier of Bountiful Harvest as well. And let us really quick just grab today's apple. A large apple. That's great. And with all this, we can go talk to good old Bingo Boffin here and do the first part of the content that was released for Harvestmath. And this one is Frightful Tales to curl the hair on your toes. Beriathan, hello! I see that you have taken some time from your busy days of adventuring to celebrate the Harvest Festival. Good, good. How very right and proper. This has become one of my very favorite times of the year. My cousin Priska has brought her children to visit, and we are all going to enjoy the sights and sounds of the Harvest Festival together. You simply must join us. I will not take no for an answer, and you know how stubborn Boffins can be when we set our minds to it. Legendarily so. You can find my various cousins enjoying the games around the party tree. I would appreciate it if you help them make the most of their time here, and later in the evening we will all meet on the Greenfields to tell spooky stories. I can't wait. Alrighty then. So, let us talk to the Boffins here. So, this is Camellia Boffin. Beriathan, we need your help. Have you participated in the apple bobbing here at the festival yet? Yeah, I just did. There are very important rules in place. No using your hands, and you only get one chance to play. But my brother Griffa did not listen to the rules, and now he has ruined it for everyone. Griffa thought these apples were just for the taking, and he reached right into one of the tops. He grabbed an apple and took a big bite, and then, as if that wasn't bad enough, he did it again. Honestly, if there were any grounds for being asked to leave the festival at once, I think that would qualify. But they are being very nice about the whole thing, and I've offered to bring some of their spare apple bobbing tops up here so the game can continue. Now that you are here, you can help me. There's a spare top at the base of the hill. Go pick it up and carry it back here, but beware of bobbers to be. Much like Griffa, they won't be good at following the rules and they will keep you from carrying the top. You'll have to start all over. So yeah, the Shire has many of these quests of pick this and avoid this kind of people. And the first time you do them, well, at any time really, if you are not paying attention, that can be really a pain to complete, especially because there are a lot of quests. My bad. God. Where is it now? Festival. Oh. Harvest Festival. Boffin for apples. That's a funny name. Anyway, as I was telling you, yeah, if you are not paying attention, those quests can be a little bit annoying. Especially because there are a lot. You have the pie quest line, the spoiled pies, and the quick post. So the quick post, you can start at any location in the Shire, and it will take you from one town to the other, and you will make a full round of the Shire. But spoiled pies, I mean, the quick post is not that bad, but spoiled pies is totally different because you need to go and find a pie and then bring it back to, well, I don't remember the NPC name, but it's a two-way travel, so it takes longer. And on top of that, when you finish picking up all the spoiled pies, you have to deliver new pies. So yeah, that one is a pain. That one I have only done once, and I don't think I have the guts to do that again. In any case, you can just come from behind and avoid all the apple bobbers to be, and now talk to Griffa. No, to Camellia. Thank you, Beriathan. Can I ask you to get one more top of apples? They should be freshly picked and waiting at the orchard not far from here. Remember, use caution to avoid the bobbers to be while carrying it back here. And this one is also quite simple. You need to be careful of this guy though. And here is another guy as well, but that's not so hard. Gotta mind their surroundings. Pick up the top. Look really quick, yeah. Nothing interesting to see here. And the best way is really just, once again, going down the hill and back again from this rock so you can come from behind. This really is not that hard. Thanks once again, Beriathan. I have carefully explained the rules to Frightful once more, and he assures me he will follow them now, no matter how hungry he might get. Now that Frightful is no longer embarrassing me, I have to admit that this festival has been very fun so far. I like ensuring everything goes smoothly more than I like participating myself. My mother says I have always been like this, even when I was very little. Thanks again. I will tell you if we need any more help. Tonight we're going to share spooky stories with Cousin Bingo, and you are welcome to come. Alright, that's the first one. Where are the rest of the Boffins? I'm really not so sure. Where's Boffin? It's always good to visit Cousin Bingo, and it has been many years since last I made out it to Hobbiton for the Harvest Festival. I have rather more children now than I did then, but I have become quite practiced at traveling with so many. The key to a successful journey is to perform a Hobbit count before you leave your starting point, and to perform a second count when you arrive at your destination. This is how I know that one of my children has gotten lost on the way. I am pretty sure Beriathan is the child to blame, on account of it usually being my drowsiest boy who leaves my count short. We climbed the hill up to the festival. Beriathan is probably sleeping among the bushes that line the road we took. If you don't mind, could you find Beriathan and wake him up? We did not come all the way here from Newbury for him to sleep through the festival. Alrighty, so Bingo Boffin. I don't remember where he is exactly, but yeah, he is down this road, and yeah, I missed him. A little bit north. By the campfire, really. Sure enough, Bingo is sleeping soundly by the side of the road. Hello there, friend. Do you know the sleepy fellow? I haven't seen him around Hobbiton or Bywater before, so I believe he has come from somewhere else in the Shire to enjoy the Harvest Festival, but would you look at this? He has fallen asleep and is bound to miss the whole thing. That would be a shame, no mistake about it. Here is my plan. I have been scaring folk with my ferocious bear costume all day. You wake up this fellow and I will let out a loud roar and give him a fright. It will be a great welcome to the festival, and will also teach him not to waste so many hours sleeping, or at least not when a festival is underway. So, I'm not sure if this is the same guy who dresses like a bear for the Haunted Burrow, but it's reminiscent of that at least. Bingo yawns sleepily and rubs his eyes. Oh, hello there, Beriathan. I was just taking a quick nap before the festival gets underway. Cousin Bingo suggested that we all come visit and see the famous Hobbiton Harvest Festival, and sometime tonight we will all share spooky stories around a campfire. I had better get some rest if we're going to stay up so late. Impressive custom, friend. Well, back to sleep. That was not what I thought would happen. Do you think my costume is not scary enough? No, that can be it. This costume is terrifying. I always loved this little interaction. It's so funny and kinda cute as well. Okay, here we have the other. Esmeralda Boffin. I do not see very many people dancing Beriathan. My mother said that there would be dance contests held regularly during the festival, but so few people are participating. Is the spooky atmosphere to blame? Why is everyone afraid to dance? We must combat this fear of dancing with encouraging words. Find bashful festival goers and tell them there is nothing to fear. That will surely work. So now that I think of it, I'm not sure if this is like a comment on the devs on the amount of players that do the dancing quest each festival. I know for one I have barely done those quests myself. Actually never. So maybe they are commenting on that for other players. I'm not sure. Just a thought. In any case, let us find the bashful hobbits and see what we can do. If we can get them to dance. But everyone would look at me. Okay. Alright, here is the turn up for scary dreams. Well, I can say I am not surprised, Beriathan. Thank you for finding Verilak's latest snapping spot. I'll let him sleep until it is time for Bingo's frightening stories. Perhaps they will contain enough thrills and chills to keep my drowsy son awake where the promise of festival fun does not. Alright, let us continue with the bashful hobbits. What if everyone laughs at me? Well, we had already discussed that. Okay. Where can we find more of those? What if everyone laughs at me? Okay, yeah. It seems that's the only answer they have for my words. Let us finish talking with all of them. Just one more to go. This guy here. I'm simply too shy to get up in front of everyone. Okay. It didn't work, Beriathan. People are still too bashful to get up and dance. What a disaster! Wait a moment, I have had an idea. Perhaps they just need to see someone else having a good time dancing and cheering and who knows what else. It's up to you, Beriathan. Take a moment to do whatever you want, any creative expression at all, and maybe this will help these bashful hobbits come to their senses. If they see you doing it and having a good time, perhaps they will be able to do it themselves. So let us dance a little bit. After all, that's what Esmeralda wanted people to do. Yeah, I think this is the very first time that we have participated in such dances. It looks kind of funny with the shield, but I don't have time to remove it from the looks, like to make it invisible. That was quite a performance, Beriathan. I hope these bashful hobbits have learned how fun it can be just to be yourself, and not worry about what anyone else is thinking. Thank you for being such a good sport. Will I see you at Cousin's Bingo's Spooky Stories tonight? Alright, and finally we need to find Dinodas Boffin here. Well, Beriathan, my mother said we were going to visit Cousin Bingo, which is fine, but there has been a most sudden unexpected reversal. Imagine my surprise when she told me we were going not to Delvin but to Hobbiton instead, there to partake in the Harvest Festival. Dinodas shakes his head. Now, I understand there are some things about this festival that are worthwhile. Good crops and the promise of plenty. Worth celebrating. I have no patience for all the rest of it. Spooks, haunts, and frights? Silly rubbish and nonsense. I told Celandine that the same thing not 2 weeks ago. My mother says Cousin Bingo is set on us sharing spooky stories, so there's no getting out of it. While we wait, I might as well see what this haunted burrow they got is all about. I'll meet you inside. Basement. Okay, so the first stop is the attic. If you remember from our haunted burrow episode, I think that's the best route to take, really. Because you can only access the attic from the main cellar, so... Most burrows do not have attics, being delved in the ground and not unnaturally elevated like the houses of some folk. But this one is no more frightening than I would expect of the usual sort. The paint is peeling and I hear rats scuttling about, but it will take more than those mild irritations to rest the hair on my toes. You think it's scary? Dinodas does not. Well, it seems these bats, so they can get scared out of people. They can also be really annoying too. The cobwebbed wings, so... here's Dinodas. Will you look at this, Beriathan? Who could be convinced by these poor scoops for a spider? It's big, yes, I'll grant you that, but I can see the wire from which it hangs. That does not look like spider silk at all. It looks like a fishing line at best and mere twine at worst. The webs are alright, I suppose, but this is not frightening at all. It's silly to think any hobbit would be scared of this wing. Let me ask you a question, Beriathan. Do you think these hobbits are trying to scare us? Because these glowing bottles could be filled with anything, which causes the imagination to run. But their illumination has another effect. It causes me to plainly see this crudely painted mask and know it for what it is. Just a mask. Now, if it was darker in here, perhaps I would think this was a real goblin, but not when I can see it so clearly. This is not frightening at all. Oh, tough guy, huh? Now that we're here in the basement, let us pick the secret chest. So plenty of good stuff in here, except for these forced in mode items that I don't like that much, really. So we got a boar cape from the haunted burrow and the boar head, so we can maybe make a good outfit out of it. And now let us see where Dinodas has gone to. Here he is. This basement is a little damp, but it's no more scary than others I have seen. Is this the best these hobbits can do? It is a little confusing to find the right path, but if you set your mind to it, you shouldn't have any trouble finding a way through. It would need to be much darker and more maze-like to scare this hobbit, I'll tell you that. Alright, and now back to Dinodas in the potty tree. Let me go. What do we have in here? Where is he? The haunted burrow does not seem very haunted to me. It is all for show, and the whole thing strikes me as being very silly and not frightening at all. When my mother revealed that we were meeting cousin Bingo at Hobbiton for the Harvest Festival and not at his home in Delvin, I was very cross. I have to admit that I very much enjoyed exploring the haunted burrow with you and revealing it as an unfrightening display. I thank you for that, Beriathan. I look forward to disproving with you the scary stories cousin Bingo has for us this evening. I will see you there. How are my cousins finding the festival? Ah, excellent. It seems they are all enjoying it in their own particular ways. But what's this? Young Dinodas does not frighten easily, does he? We will have to do something about that, Beriathan. This is a season for spooks and a festival for fright. He is missing out on a great deal of fun at this time of year if he does not allow himself to be scared. You have already agreed to join us on the Greenfields for the sharing of spooky stories, but now that I know Dinodas believes himself to be above scaring, I fear my own stories might not be, well, frightening enough. I need to do some more research, Beriathan. Can I ask you to make the trip to Talkborough and to secure the assistance of Donamira Took, the librarian of Great Smiles? She has unrivaled understanding of the contents of the library, and she will certainly know where to find a tome or two with the scariest of hobbit stories within. Find me suitably scary stories, and I will make one or two further arrangements, and we will be ready for the telling of tales when it is dark enough. Alright, so I have a trip to Talkborough. It's not far, but we're gonna take Limbat nonetheless. It's just a little right south. But I think that yeah, we'll need the extra time for the end of the quest. I mean, on this episode we're gonna do the entire quest line of Frightful Tales to curl the hair on your toes. We're gonna do the entire thing. But still, I do everything I can to keep it under the 1 hour mark as we usually do for the other episodes. We're aiming for that. But since the last quest, well, one of the last quests in this quest line can be quite lengthy, I think we will need some extra time. Here's Tuckborough. And Great Smiles. As you see here, there are many different quests that I have not taken. All it took. Well, just avoid the blunders, but that's Pippin's father, if I'm not mistaken. Here we have Danamira took. You are looking for a book of scary stories? I cannot say that any come immediately to mind, for hobbits do not generally write down such things, though they do enjoy sharing them in person, especially in warm comfort with the dark of night safely beyond shutter panes and far away. You are welcome to look for yourself, Beriathan. Alright. You find a tattered book that seems to contain frightful tales. But the book is always in this bookshelf, from what I can tell. Well, this is very curious. I do not believe I have ever seen this book before. The letters on the cover are very faded and most indistinct. I cannot read very much of the title, but the first word seems to be chill. I believe it promises chilling tales, and the cursory examination seems to bear out this presumption. Feel free to take it with you, Beriathan, and bring it to Bingo Boffin for his per usual. May increase his enjoyment of the Harvest Festival. I know he will see it return to me. Eventually. So that would be a throwaway to one of the quests for the Ballad of Bingo Boffin. Which, yeah, at some point Bingo realizes he's had one book from the library for I don't remember how long. But I do remember he was really worried about not having returned the book on time. So those are the kind of habit bubbles we usually deal with in the Shire. So, yeah, one episode of Tales of Middle-earth will have us come to the Shire to do deeds and explore and all that. Oh yeah. Oh, I said we were gonna ride. I forgot. Anyway, let us go back to Bingo. Can do it. To the top. And here is good old Bingo. Ah, this book looks perfect, Beriathan, thank you. I shall spend some time becoming acquainted with the tales within, and it will be time to share spooky stories before you know it. It's nearly time, Beriathan. Let me know when you are ready, and we will go to the Greenfields together. Are you ready? We will wait until it's properly dark and be off. Alright. So you simply must celebrate the spirit of the scary season with us. That's what we're gonna do. And this is the part in which I believe we're gonna need the extra time. Most of these hobbits will have scary stories to tell. You only need to pick 2, but I would like to take a look at each one of them. They can be quite lengthy, so yeah, we'll need some extra time in here. This is the perfect night to share spooky stories, Beriathan. Even better than I hoped. Many of my cousin's Priska's children have told me they have their own stories ready to share, and I have one of my own as well. Bolster your courage, my friend, and let us celebrate in the scary spirit of the season. You can choose who gets to share the first story, Beriathan. So, as you see, you can talk to all of them. Not all of them will have stories to share. So for example, Esmeralda, I would be happy to go first if I had story prepared, but I think I will just listen for now. Dinodas, I'm not telling a story, pick someone else, Beriathan, honestly. Marigold, I overheard the story when I was very little, and it made quite an impression. I vowed never to let fear to be the master of me, and so far it hasn't, and won't. Some hobbits could still learn the lesson, I'd say. Long ago, a wealthy hobbit named Longo Proudfoot lived alone in a fancy manor in Delvin. He enjoyed expensive things and employed many servants, and it was a poorly kept secret that he did not treat them well. He enjoyed the food they prepared for him, but he was consumed with distrust, and he feared they would sneak into the pantry and steal the ingredients within for their own families. So it was that Longo had strong locks and heavy bars installed on his pantry. He carried the only keys. When it was time for his servants to prepare his dinners, he would march them to the door, carefully unlock everything, and stand by watching while they removed what they needed. He carefully marked the quantities of each foodstuff, and if it seemed more was being withdrawn than was necessary, he had strong words at the ready. This continued for some time, but still, Longo was certain that his servants were stealing his food. I cannot say for sure, but it seems to me that the extreme measures he used to prevent it must have inflamed the servants' desire to perpetrate some thievery, but that might just be my perspective as a rebellious hobbit. At any rate, there came a day when Longo's suspicions were at their greatest level and he called all of his servants into the sitting room. I no longer have need of your services, he proclaimed, and dismissed them all. Go steal from someone else's larder, he cried as they streamed from the manor. That night, as Longo lay in his bed, he found that his suspicions had not been eased by dismissing all of his servants. On the contrary, now he worried they would not be bound by loyalty and might break into the manor to gain access to his pantry. Where were his keys? Ah, here they are. Still, they might have already performed the deed and replaced the keys when they were done. Longo hurried to the pantry and found the many locks that he had left them earlier in the day. He unlocked every one and threw open the door, revealing shelf upon shelf of useful ingredients and foodstuffs. As he went inside for a closer look, he brushed the door by mistake and it swung shut behind him. If he had not been so focused on counting the bags of flour and inventorying the pickling jars, he might have heard the heavy bar fall into place outside the door, but he did not. No one knows how long it took before anyone noticed they had not seen Longo Proudfoot set foot from his manor from some time, for he had told his servants not to return and he had no friends or family to check on him. He might have lasted for quite some time in that well-stocked pantry, but in the end, after all, does it really matter if it was days or if it was months? But hobbits in the Shire have reported feelings of discomfort in their own pantries late at night, as if they were being watched from behind the shelves, and some folk have claimed to see eyes peering out of them from between the bags and boxes, eyes full of jealousy and distrust. But that was a great story. I really like that one. Let us talk to Camellia. And let's see which one does she have. When we came here to see cousin Bingo and celebrate the harvest festival with him, we crossed the Brandywine Bridge and took the road by stock. Do you all remember looking across the water and seeing the farms of Butchford? My story took place at one of those farms, and the events told during happened not so long ago. I know these events are true, though they sound unbelievable. The story was told to me by someone who would know the truth of the matter. The farm stood right on the river's edge and belonged to a hobbit named Everard. He was a Bolger, as are many of the folk of Witchford, but whereas most of the Bolgers are fine farmers, Everard struggled daily to maintain his crop. Either it was taken by blight, or savaged by crows, or munched by rabbits, and on many occasions he had to depend upon the charity of his neighbors for his family to survive. Everard blamed his scarecrow most of all. No matter how hard he tried, he could not fashion a suitably frightening scarecrow. Every day, the birds came to feast on his crops, undeterred. He was at his wits' end on Tuesday, and even as he glowered at his failing scarecrow, a raven flew down from the sky and lighted upon it. "Oh, I'll tell you what you deserve," Everard growled as he swung his trowel at the bird. The raven flew just out of reach and then landed once again upon the scarecrow's straw hat. "You seem upset, friend," the raven said. This set Everard back a bit, for while he had heard stories of speaking birds, he had never encountered one himself. "Upset?" he managed. "Of course! You birds won't leave my crops alone, you vile things!" "It does seem like you deserve better," the raven responded. "If you like, I can speak to my people and see if perhaps we could come to an arrangement. I'd be willing to do this for you if you let me sample some of these grains." Everard thought it over and could see a few drawbacks to the raven's proposal. After all, one bird's appetite would be less than a whole flock, and by giving up some of the crop, he might secure safety for the rest. "I agree," he told the bird, and watched as it devoured some of the crop and flew away. The next day saw little improvement, and birds continued to harry his crops. He was certain he would not see the raven again, but to his surprise, the bird appeared and spoke. "They said they want to help you out, but they just can't resist the taste of the crops you are growing here. They said what you need is a better scarecrow. That would make it much more difficult for them to fly near." "I have tried to make this one scarier," Everard told him, "but it's just no good." "Let's see what we can do," the raven replied. The Wednesday sun crossed the sky, and as dusk approached, Everard's wife sent their daughter Holly to bring Everard in for supper. As Holly approached the field, she marveled at how lifelike appeared the second scarecrow her father had made. He must have spent all day fashioning it. It looked just like a hobbit. As she watched, a raven hopping among the grains squawked and flew away. Okay, I think I prefer a Marigold story. But let us talk to the rest. Priska. "Oh, I do not know very many spooky stories, but I am certain one of my children will be happy to go first." And... okay. Osco. Odo Grab was the finest fisherman the Shire had ever seen, and none who cast their lines today can hope to rival his skill. Nor should they, if you believe the tale I am about to tell. I believe it, for it is surely true. Odo's name was known far and wide throughout the Shire in his day, and it seemed he could find fish in any body of water. Not just fish, but fish of a size you would hardly have expected. Where most hobbits would pull minnows of middling sizes from their hooks, Odo could cast into the river and take from it fish of incredible beauty, the rainbow scales glittering, creatures of a size that no hobbit had ever drawn before. So skilled was he, that he dared clamber into a boat of his own making and fish far from the banks, which was very unusual for hobbits of his day, and indeed remains so. Yet it also proved unwise, for there came a day when a great behemoth of a fish seized his line and pulled his boat rapidly along with the current. Most hobbits would have dropped their rod and rowed to safety, but Odo had a reputation to uphold. He braced himself against the sides and held onto the rod for dear life. "I will make you mine," he proclaimed to the great fish as it pulled him along. "I will be the victor in this contest, or my name is not Odo Grab, Master Fisherman." The battle lasted for days, and the mighty fish pulled Odo's boat far from the Shire and into lands unknown to all hobbits. At last, consumed by hunger and weariness, Odo released his hold on the fishing rod, and it flew out of the boat and into the water. "I give up," he said to no one as his boat slowed from its rapid pursuit. He picked up the oars and prepared to begin the long journey homeward. Then, something bumped into the underside of his boat and the oars broke from their locks and fell into the water. But his rapid journey southward continued. "What is happening?" he cried aloud, and peered over the side into the water below. The great fish had not left him, but remained, pushing the boat on its southward course. "Where are you taking me?" Odo demanded. but the fish did not respond. This continued for many days until Otto was faint with hunger. He collapsed in the base of his boat and once again wondered when the great fish would let him go. "Did you bring me here just to let me die?" he cried aloud, too weak to even shake his fist at the cruel skies. Then he heard a splash and another. Small fish were leaping from the water and landing in the boat. What luck!" he gasped, and grabbed them with both hands. He ate them raw, which he would have found distasteful back home, but on this terrible day he was glad for the unexpected gift. His bigger, renewed Otto was now strong enough to keep watch from the front of his boat, and that is how he saw the great sea approaching and the river's end. The boat slowed and the great fish halted its pushing. It lifted its great head from the water, and Otto saw that the creature was not alone. There were fish of every imaginable size and shape surrounding his boat. "What do you want?" he asked. As Otto surveyed the vast variety of the diverse species that surrounded him, he found that he recognized every type of fish. At one point or another in his teamed career, he had caught at least one of each of these types, and in some cases many. "You hold me responsible?" he whispered. "You came for me. You came for revenge?" The fish stared at him with bulbous eyes, their gills working silently just beneath the surface of the water. But you fed me. Why keep me alive?" There was no response from the silence assembled, but suddenly they moved as one. Hundreds of fish pressed against the sides and bottom of Otto's boat, and the silvery rainbow multitude forced the boat from the fresh water of the river into the salt of the great sea, dying as they went. And so Otto Grab paid the price for his success. If I thought to him on this night, floating on the great sea far away, never to return. What's the matter, boy? Are you scared? Some of these stories are pretty cool. Frightful. My story is a cautionary tale, but I urge you not to discount it, for it is also true. Very true. The events of this story took place not so very long ago, shortly after the new homesteads were made available in the Shire. A very old and by most accounts rather unpleasant hobbit, the Widow Spinner, was enamored of one of the homes of Myrtle Court, and she greatly desired to purchase it. She was not the only interested buyer, of course, but she had the most money to spend, and she was able to outbid her chief rival, a young hobbit named Bob Newbuck. He purchased the most desirable home on Myrtle Court, and she lived there for several months, much to Bob's consternation. Well, Bob wasn't one to give up, even when losing a contest, and he made it a point to pass by Myrtle Court as often as possible, scowling in the direction of the Widow Spinner's home at every opportunity. One night, as he passed by the lane, he heard a strange voice calling in the darkness. He looked more closely and saw the Widow Spinner standing in the yard beside her burrow, wearing a long nightshirt and a sleeping cap. "Crazy old bat," Bob thought to himself as he continued down until the lane to his own. "Can probably disappoint in a camp burrow." Thinking back on that curious sight sometime later, Bob decided that he might have been the last person to see the Widow Spinner before she disappeared. Indeed, no one else could tell the sheriffs what had happened to her or where she had gone. Bob was as helpful as he could be, and he told them what little he knew, but it was not long before the Widow Spinner was declared dead and Sex Myrtle Court was once again available to purchase. Bob wasted no time and purchased the house, and it was everything he hoped it would be. He decorated it to his liking and lived there happily for several months. He was lying in bed one night sometime after midnight when he heard a voice. "Help me," it called from somewhere outside Bob's cozy bedroom. "What is that?" Bob wondered to himself, and pulled the covers up to his chin. "Help me," the voice called again. Bob squeezed his eyes shut, but then decided that the morning was too far off and there would be no escaping the plaintive voice. He followed its call out of his bedroom, down the hall, and finally outside. The air was cold and the night was dark, but he was able to hear the voice clearly enough to follow it to the side yard where the well was dug. Sure enough, the voice echoed out from the dark hole in the ground. "Help me," it asked again. Bob leaned over the hole and scowled. "Spinner, if that's you down there," he began, but he wasn't able to finish the thought before something slammed in his back and he slipped on the wet grass. Bob tumbled down the well and everything went dark. When he awoke, he was lying half in and half out of the water, deep inside the well. A crevice on the wall opened into a chamber dug out of the dirt, and he was wedged painfully in that crack. He felt woozy, and it was hard to make his eyes focus. Gradually they did, and he saw the widow spinner sitting on the floor, leaning against the wall of the dirt chamber, a teapot and several plates arranged around her. "Help me," the boy said once again, and Bob realized that it came not from the widow spinner, but from somewhere much closer, right by his ear. "Help me set out the tea," it continued. "You will be so happy to have someone over for tea." Something pulled at his arm roughly, and Bob disappeared into the dirt chamber. He was never seen again. I heard that Sex Myrtle Court is available for purchase again. Gives your mind tea at midnight. You all know I love napping, and it has been the subject of some teasing throughout the years, but I'll tell you this. Mother told us this story when we were young, and if some of you forgot it, well, I never did. Once you have heard it again, you will be jealous of my afternoon naps and my early bedtimes. I don't doubt it. Many years ago, a hobbit named Handsome Broadbeam lived in the town of Overhill. He was a woodworker of much renown, and folk came from all throughout the Shire to buy his crafted goods. You can still find oaken chests bearing his mark in hobbit halls throughout all the four farthings, though Handsome himself is only remembered in this tale. He was a victim of his own success. There were so many orders from so many customers that he had to stay awake late into the evening to finish each crafted good, stumbling into bed as the first beams of light began to shine through the trees onto Overhill. His work began to suffer, and he feared that his reputation would be tarnished unless something changed, and quickly. One day, Hampson was drowsily walking through the Blindbowl Wood to an area where he was accustomed to felling trees for his workbench. As he approached the location, he felt the hair on his toes stand up. Something was watching him from the tree canopy. "Hello? Is anyone there?" he called. "I live here," a thin, reedy voice replied. Handsome squinted up at the branches, but he could not see the speaker. "I don't see you," Hampson said. "Am I asleep? I might have fallen asleep somewhere on the trail, and now I am dreaming. I hope no animals find my body while I sleep." "You seem pretty awake to me," the mysterious voice answered. "At least you're not asleep, but perhaps you should be. Your limbs hang loosely, your eyelids droop, and I see exhaustion in every part of you." Handsome was impressed that this strange new acquaintance could read the situation so clearly, and he described the many demands on his time that prevented him from sleeping. "If only I didn't need to sleep," he exclaimed, "and I'd worry about nothing." At first, the voice from the tree canopy did not respond. Then a small twig with red berries fell from aloft, landing in the dirt by Handsome's feet. "What's this?" he asked. "I did not need to sleep," the voice responded. "Eat those berries and you will not need to sleep either." Normally, Handsome would not have trusted such a gift from a stranger, particularly from one so strange as this, but he so desperately wanted the berries to do as the voice promised that he did not give it a second thought. He ate them greedily, but felt no different. He asked how long it would take for him to notice their effect, but the voice did not respond. Angrily, Handsome went home. He didn't even care to collect the wood that he had brought him into the forest in the first place. So disappointed and out of sorts was he. That night, Handsome fashioned a set of chairs requested by a wealthy patron, and the work was delicate enough that he found himself quite engaged, and still awake by dawn. In fact, his drowsiness had departed, and he worked all the rest of the day and into the following evening. "Be?" he asked his empty burrow. "Did those berries take away my need of sleep?" It seemed to be so, and Handsome had never been so happy. The following weeks were a delight for the woodworker, and he finished every order set before him. When there were no more orders to fill, he read his small collection of books, and he felt he had become a much smarter and more cultured, gentle hobbit. When there were no more books to read, he took long walks through the Shire at night and marveled at the nighttime beauty of the countryside. When that finally lost its luster, he returned to his home and lay awake in his bed. He had exhausted everything he wanted to do, and now he was bored. All he wanted to do was to close his eyes and sleep, but try as he might, he would never sleep again. As bad as he had felt before, now he felt worse. Every day felt like an eternity, and every night felt like two. Handsome walked every inch of the Bingo Wood, calling for the mysterious voice to return and give him different berries, but as far as I know, he never found it. He might be walking there still, just over there, seeking an end to his endless wakefulness. And finally, Angelica Boffin. Many years ago, long before our family trees had so much as sprouted, there was a small village on the banks of the Brandywine, not far from where Stock is located today. One of the prominent figures in this village was a fellow named Gert Goodcliff. He had the respect of his neighbors and was consulted about many of the matters that faced the town. It was widely held that when the time came for the mayor to step down, Gert would easily be chosen to take his place. One day, Gert was walking among the reeds on the river's edge when he heard a small voice among the rushes. How curious, he thought to himself, and he squatted down in the mud to find the owner of the voice. Finding nothing, he prepared to stand once again, but before he could, a large black cat padded out of the reeds. "Well, hello there," he greeted the cat, and turned to go. "Hello yourself," it said to him. Gert was most surprised, for this was the first time a cat had ever spoken to him. Once he recovered himself, he found that the cat was not simply talkative, but quite friendly as well. It introduced itself as Green Eyes, and said that it came from a faraway land in search of home. Gert was happy to offer Green Eyes such a place at his own humble burrow, and Green Eyes contributed in his own way, keeping mice and other undesirables away from Gert's pantry. In time, Green Eyes proved capable at finding much more than mice. He would stalk through the village, creeping into half-open windows and pushing open unlatched doors. He learned many interesting rumors and overheard much gossip about the habits of the town, and he recounted each salacious morsel to Gert with delight. Gert began to look upon his neighbors with distaste and distrust, and he found he could no longer stand to engage in conversation with them. He became cold and distant, and other hobbits avoided him when they saw him on the road, crossing to the other side rather than speak with him. When they returned to their homes, Green Eyes would follow behind and listen, while they called Gert off-putting, odd, and unfriendly. The cat recounted these stories to Gert with regret, but his tail twitched back and forth happily. "I don't need these liars as friends anyway," Gert told him one day. "I have you, Green Eyes, and you are the only friend this hobbit needs." Green Eyes nodded, his tail twitching. Not long afterward, a day came when Gert could not find Green Eyes anywhere. Despairing and certain that one of his neighbors had done some harm to his friend, he ran screaming out into the center of town. Folk watched his raving progress through the village, and their whispers were no longer hushed or hidden. Madly, Gert ran down to the banks of the river, and there at last he found his friend. Green Eyes stood among the reeds, and with his two front paws he pushed a small boat out into the river. He clambered onto it and turned back to face Gert as it floated out on the current. "Why, Green Eyes? Why must you leave?" Gert called out to him. Green Eyes did not respond, but only watched him silently until the current bore him away and out of sight. No one knows what happened to Gert Goodcliff after that, but he never came back to town, and he never became mayor. But there are some who say that if the moon is high in the sky, like it is tonight, you might catch a glimpse of Green Eyes in his boat, floating away down the river, his tail twitching. Okay, well, these were all good stories. But there are two that I like more than the others, so those are the two that I will pick. But first of all, let us take a picture with all our hobbit friends on this night of goat stories. And in fact, let us sit by the fire and share the stories with them. And Geralt, it seems, is enjoying this night as well. Well, he might be a little scared, I'm not sure, but... well, that's the spirit of the season, right? So, now that we have shared some stories with them, I'll pick the two that I like the most. The first one is Marigold, obviously. Longo Proudfoot getting caught in his pantry and... jeez. That's chilling, for sure. The eyes of Longo Proudfoot are the eyes that hobbits see. So, yeah. Well, that was certainly something. We should go next. And the other story that I really enjoyed was Vasquez, I believe? No, Verlac. No, it was not Verlac. It was Griffo. The Widow Spinner, yeah. You don't mind tea at midnight. Oh, I give myself the shivers. Yeah, that was quite a good story. Nonsense. These stories are all rubbish. That's Dinodas, of course. Not at all. Is it my turn? I have a good story to tell. The story I'm about to tell is older than each of the others we have heard tonight, for it dates from the earliest days of the Shire and it's recorded in very few places. I found it in a book that Beriathan retrieved from the Library of Great Smiles, but it seems to me there were few copies of that book ever made. Once I tell you this story, it will live on, and you should all remember it. Even in the earliest days of the Shire, festivals were already important to our distant ancestors. Were there Boffins even then? I would like to think so, although I have not seen a family tree that extends back that far. Certainly, some branches of our family trees bear similar names to those earliest inhabitants of the Shire, and I have seen accounts of Esmeraldas, Marigolds, Griffos and Foscos, but I am getting distracted. A young girl by the name of Menegilda desired to win a dancing competition, but her chief rival, one Peony, excelled at the art and bested her at every opportunity. Menegilda was upset with winning the great prize, and she became convinced that Peony owed her success to the violet shoes she always wore. Menegilda hatched a plan to steal the shoes. She surprised Peony on the banks of the Brandywine and demanded she hand over the shoes. Peony refused and said there was a spell on the shoes. They would work only at her command, and they would do Menegilda no good at all. Menegilda was not dissuaded. In fact, the revelation that the shoes were enchanted filled her with happiness. At last, an explanation for her continued failure to beat Peony at dancing. Peony removed the shoes and threw them at her rival. "Fine," she cried. "Have them. I will tell my father what you've done, and you won't be allowed to dance at all." This was a mistake, but Peony did not understand the rage that seated within Menegilda's heart. Menegilda charged at her with arms raised, and she pushed Peony into the river. He never surfaced. Menegilda put on her stolen shoes and returned to town. There were whispers, but no one had seen her encounter with Peony, and it was believed that Peony may have run away, seeking her fortune beyond the borders of the Shire. Menegilda did not care. Her every thought was bent on winning the next dance contest. A few weeks later, Menegilda wore her new shoes and danced on the stage before all the assembled hobbits. Everyone cheered and applauded, for they had never seen such dancing before, not even when Peony had participated. Menegilda was the clear winner. And yet, something was wrong. Someone tried to present Menegilda with the winning ribbon, but she merely continued to dance. Everyone applauded again, but she showed no signs of stopping. "I think that's enough, dear," someone called. But now there were tears streaming from Menegilda's face, and the assemblage came to understand that she wanted to stop, but could not. Folk rushed to the stage and sought to remove the violet shoes, but they wouldn't come off. Menegilda's feet flew left and right, here and there, but even when she fell into a stupor, the dance continued. At last it stopped, but Menegilda's dancing days were done. The shoes were sealed away, hidden in a dusty corner of The shoes were packed into a box, and it was sealed away, hidden in a dusty corner of a forgotten burrow. Hobbits spoke for a time of Menegilda and the cursed shoes, but eventually the story passed into legend and folk doubted if it had ever really happened, even as they feared to speak of it. And that's why hobbits never wear shoes. That's not true. That can't be true. How do you know? It's just rubbish. All these stories are nonsense. Well, it's interesting you should say that, Dino. Because I went and had a chat with Brombark Forkstail at the Matham house. And he did some digging around and he found the very same shoes from the story. And here they are. I don't believe it. That can't be. There's no way those are the same shoes. Does anyone want to try them on? I'll do it, I'm not afraid. Who's that? Esmeralda. Esmeralda, are you sure? I'm not scared, mother. Purple shoes. They fit perfectly. See? Nothing to worry about. Alright, Esmeralda, you should probably take them off now. Ah, I can't! I can't stop! Beriathan, help her! The shoes won't come off. No, no, Esmeralda! It's all true! It's all true! You see? They are all laughing. What fun! What do you think, Beriathan? It seems to me that Esmeralda should try acting at the Frostbluff Theatre. That was a convincing performance. I'd say we certainly gave Dino a taste of the season, wouldn't you? Oh, it's all in good fun. He'll be fine. He just needed a good scare. We wouldn't have carried out the trick if Friska hadn't given her permission. And she thought it might do him some good, just as we did. It's the season for scares after all. Alright. Yeah, we did spend some time with the ghost stories, but that was the whole point of this night, I believe, so it was good that we did, in my opinion. That was great, Beriathan. I think we finally managed to frighten the unfrightenable. The spirit of the scare is still alive and well in the Shire, despite rumor to the contrary. You had better go and check on him. We don't want him falling into any trouble on our account, after all. Dinodas ran off to the northwest. He's probably laughing about it by now, although he'd never admit it. So we're back at the Shire, and it's the morning, and god, the woods in the Shire at morning are beautiful. I haven't had much time to come and explore the Shire, but it's really well worth it. So now we are in the Bindwell Wood, where the scene of one of the tales from the instance. Thankfully, it's already daytime, so there's no risk in finding that a woodworker, I don't remember his name right now. My short-term memory maybe needs some looking at, I don't know. Anyway, the Dinodas gotta be somewhere in here. Close by. Alright. Gotta be over here. You have found the Dinodas, Boffin. That was horrible, Beriathan, and very mean. I expect a full apology. You should not go around trying to scare people for no reason. You explained that Bingo believed his cousin might enjoy the Harvest Festival more if he let himself be scared from time to time, and Dinodas placed his arms widely. Bingo thinks nothing scares me. I have become a victim of my acting skills, Beriathan, and gave too fine a performance. Do you remember when we would explore the Haunted Burrow? I worked so hard to see through the spooky atmosphere and lay it bare as a sham, but deep down I was full of fear. Every bump, every sudden movement, every deep shadow seemed to promise some new form of terror. Foolish Beriathan, I do not fear nothing, I fear everything. Now you know my secret shame, and I trust you will keep it to yourself. It all began some time ago when I offered to walk Celandine Brandybuck back to her home after a dinner party my mother hosted. Celandine was very happy to have the company, but as we began to walk, I saw that the hour was much later than I had thought. The night was dark and the shadows were deep, and my blood ran cold at every creepy sound. I knew if I did not do something, Celandine would know me for a coward. Cry disaster! In order to mask my fear, I adopted a brazen attitude and mocked every fear I felt. It was all an act at which I have become all too practiced. Dinodas frowns. Still, Bingo's my cousin, and that was a mean trick for any family member to perform, at any remove and no matter the distance. Speaking of distance, I was on my way back to the Greenfields when you caught up to me. I turned around because I heard something scary and stopped and dropped my pack, and ran back this way. Do you think you can retrace my steps to the northwest and find my pack? I don't think I have the courage to go back and look for it. Alright, so Dinodas pack, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, it's to the northwest. Right here. Unnatural blue fires blaze in the darkened wood. And take a look at this, an apparition it seems. This is the Dinodas pack. And the spectral vision. The spectral vision stares past you into the dark space among the trees. When it speaks, the sound reverberates in your ears and sets your teeth on edge. There can be no reparations for the hurt that has been done. In 1 year, all will fear the parting of the wood. None will escape the curse of the eerie acres. Despair and repair to your holes, for none but one will laugh when all is done. The vision stops speaking, and the space between the trees falls silence. All is cold. Yeah, this is quite the apparition. In any case, let us go back to Dinodas. Let's bring back his pack. Alright, here they are. Alright, and the sky clears. That's a really nice detail. Bingo has come here and he apologized for the trick, and all is well now, and we don't need to discuss that thing I told you, Beriathan, alright? Good. You give Dinodas his pack. After a moment's thought, you tell him that you saw something unusual nearby. Oh? What? What was it? Actually, perhaps you should tell Cousin Bingo. I don't think I need to hear about it. I don't believe in that sort of rubbish. No, indeed. I apologize to Dinodas for our scary trick, but I think it did him some good. Now, what has whirled you up into such confusion? You quietly tell Bingo about the spectral vision you saw in the wood, and he looks at you skeptically. Is this a joke, or a trick of your own? You really saw this thing? Yeah, look, your lip is all spooked now. What fun! A mysterious apparition appeared in the wood. How delightful! I simply must see it for myself. Let's go, Beriathan. Okay, let's show Bingo what we found. Yeah, I really love how the sky darkens. It's a really good detail. You know, this was the location, but the apparition is gone. There's nothing here? That's not even more scary. I do not like this, Beriathan. That's even more scary. I do not like this, Beriathan. I mean, it is all nonsense. There was nothing here to begin with, and it's very cruel of you to pretend otherwise. It's gone? I'm disappointed, but that just makes me even more curious about it. What is going on here, Beriathan? What does Dinodas think? Perhaps afterwards you can circle around to that building on top of the hill and see some sign of the apparition. Okay, so let's circle this. Okay, so... let's climb through here. You see nothing unusual on the approach to the ruined building. You stand on top of the ruin but see no sign of the spectral apparition. Here we have a rare signature, Old Broadpaw. We're not gonna bother with this guy. Let us go back to Bingo. You didn't see anything? I am not surprised. Whatever was here, it clearly does not want to be seen again. I wonder why. My mind is full of questions, Beriathan. This is truly an autumnal mystery. I need some time to think it over. I will meet you back at the potty tree. This wood has become very spooky, and while the Dinodas may not fear anything, I have to confess that this place has given me the chills. I love it, but perhaps we should head back to Hobbiton all the same. So back to Hobbiton it is. We're not far, it's just a short ride. And the sky clears once again. I love that effect. Really atmospheric if you ask me. Over hill yards. This wood in the Shire. surely deserves more pigs. And now we should be really close to the party tree now. Now entering the hill. And the Shire is a wonderful place. So here we are in Bag End. I'm back in the party tree. Let us talk to Bingo. I am very excited about this autumnal mystery, Beriathan. I have read many scary stories and they always delight my imagination, but I have never been involved in one myself. Tell me once again what the ghastly fellow had to say. To recount the words of the spectral vision. There can be no reparations for the hurt that has been done. In 1 year all will fear the parting of the wood. None will escape the curse of the eerie acres. Despair and repair to your holds, for none but one will laugh when all is done. Do I have the right? I have to admit, I do not know what any of this means, Beriathan, but it sounds to me like we have a year to figure it out. I will do some thinking. It sounds to me as if next year's Harvest Festival might be something, though. I can't wait, but I guess I must. Alright, so that was Frightful Tales to curl the hair on your toes. The first part of the Bingo questline introducing the Harvest Festival. And next time we will go to check the curse of the Eerie Acres, but that will be the next episode of Tales of Middle-earth. For the time being, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and take care, and see you later. Bye bye!